will you at least give Yahweh an opportunity to do something big in your life this morning? You know, I haven't done a lot of big things for Yahweh, but I've done a whole bunch of little stuff. A whole bunch. But every time God does something, it's big, even when you think it's little. The old song said, little is much when God's in it. And this morning, I want us to continue this thing. We're coming down to the first fruit offering. And, you know, I know as Americans, we just expect, we do one thing and everything just happens instantly. We want instant everything. And if it don't happen quick enough, I mean, we get mad and upset and impatient and all that. But this morning, I want you to know that this is what Yahweh told me. Because as I was praying for people this week, He said, I will finish and perform the work I began in that person you're praying for. And I said, that's all I need. So this morning I have all kind of hope and faith in what God is. And so when He said that, I started praying for myself. Because I want Him to finish the work He started in me too. Amen? And He will, but I just can't quit. All right. This morning, I want to talk to you about, I'm going to call it giving Yahweh control of your life. You know, Pastor Joel kind of sang that song, you know, I give myself away. And I know we do it, and we've done it in the past. But to me, I believe in dying daily. I believe in being crucified daily. So when I get up in the morning, I make a determined effort to know that Yahweh, I do not own me, you own me. You are my master. And I want to talk about that this morning. There's kind of like two things I want to talk about. And I'll tell you what I did. I went home last week and I wasn't very happy with myself because I just had so much stuff. And, you know, and I'm tempted because I only see y'all about once a week, you know. And so I don't want to miss that opportunity. I have so many things and things that I want you to learn and to teach. And you know, a lot of people think that they don't need to be taught anymore because they know maybe the foundational principles. And most people don't even know what those mean. But I know what happens when you die. We think that's enough. Well, it's not. And so what we always trying to do with us is He's training us and teaching us and preparing us and delivering us. Somebody say, please, God, from our present situation. And the only way He's not only going to do that when you die. He has promised us life, but we have to live according to His prescription. I want to start off this morning with a story that I call the moocher. How many know what a moocher is? I love the song by Cab Calloway. Hidey, 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 hi, hidey, 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 ho. And I'll tell you, I can't dance like he did, but it's called Minnie the Moocher. Once upon a time in a land far away, a man came to our church. He ate all the donuts. He drank all the coffee. He sat on our padded chairs. He enjoyed our cool AC and our music. And he almost stayed awake he stayed awake for most of my message too. But he never gave a dime. Never gave a dime. I asked him about it. I said, dude, how you come to church? You don't feel any responsibility to give or do anything? He said, I don't believe in tithes and offerings. And he said, I can't afford it anyhow. This is what he told me. I'm on a fixed income. I said, I guarantee it's fixed now. I said, you know how many older women in our church are on a fixed income and are some of the biggest givers in our church? I'm not joking. I said, not afford it? You just bought a $90,000 truck. I told him if he had any sense at all, what he should do is he should get in that truck and drive right straight to that bank and go to the loan officer's desk and hand her the key fob and said, ma'am, I'm sorry, I have made a horrible, terrible mistake. I'm going to give this truck back. And if she asks you why, this is what you should say. Because I bought that truck from money I stole from Yahweh. And this is what he said. That'll ruin my credit. And this is what I so gently and ever kindly spoke to him and said, okay. See, it don't take you long to find out who a person really is. What that person's all about. Just be quiet and listen a little while or ask some questions. And this one I said, oh, say what? He said, that will ruin my credit. I said, oh, forgive me. I was mistaken. Now I know who you really are. He said, who? I said, you're an atheist. You're an atheist. No, I'm not. I believe in God. You're a liar. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in the scriptures. You're an atheist. You don't believe in him. If you're more concerned about your credit score than what Yahweh thinks and his score that he's keeping on you, you don't believe he exists. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your grandpa and your grandma and everybody else, where your family you came from. It don't matter what you was raised in. You were an atheist. So I asked him, I said, dude, do you do this same moocher thing everywhere you go? You mean to tell me, let me ask you, did you? I said, the last time you went to a restaurant, did you just go in and order a 4-course meal and sit back and rub your belly and get a toothpick and walk out without paying something? He said, that's different. I said, oh, really? I said, how? He said, at church there is no product. That's what he told me. I didn't know product. He said, I told him this, I said, because I know he goes to a shrink. I said, your shrink has no product either. And I bet you don't just walk out of his office without paying. And I guarantee you all this. I guarantee that moocher's a bad tipper. I bet you $1,000 right now. A moocher is a bad tipper, and I despise bad tipping. Some of you have been with me. I taught some of y'all how to be a tipper. I told him, you're a cheapskate and a selfish little thief. And I don't care if you ever come back to my church again. And he wasn't in here for God anyhow. He was here for one of the young ladies in our church, not God. But I had to admit, he was right. He never did receive anything from me. He never did receive anything from God in this house. And nobody else will either. We're just wasting our time when we are a hearer and not a doer of the word. There are core and root problems, and there's dysfunctions created. For example, let's say a parent abuses their family. And let's say it's as a result of alcohol abuse. Many stories. We can use alcohol, we can use drugs, we can do gambling. I mean, we can use a lot of things, just selfishness. But, just for the sake of an example, you have a parent, maybe both of them, they abuse alcohol, and of course, they abuse their family. If the angel of the Lord doesn't smite those enemies, then nothing will ever work out right for the victims of that sin. So, the victims of a particular sin, let's say alcohol right now, let's say that, they were a victim and they were hurt and abused by alcohol from their parents. And the way that they will naturally respond to the abuse of alcohol, guess what they think their cure is? Alcohol. So you got people who were abused and hurt and damaged in their life, and what they do is, and alcohol was the cause of it, so how they're going to cure themselves is with alcohol. We always go back to the very things that cause all our pain, and when it comes to address our pain. I don't know why it's like that, but it does. Relationships. Let's use marriage or friendship. But a marriage can get into a critical condition when the abused one person or spouse, in their mind anyhow. I tell you, I've dealt with a lot of marriages, and guess who's right? They both are. Why? Because he said he was right and she said she was right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in my office. If he would learn just to say she is right, then they'd live happily ever after. Can I get an amen? So the one who feels abused, or whatever terminology we're using at the time, when they demand from the other person something that other person doesn't have, it is unfair for us to demand from somebody something that they just don't have. But yet we do it so many times, and we hold them accountable for it, and we blame them for to be responsible for what's going wrong in the relationship. Then when both are victims of handed down curses, so this one's got nothing, this one's got nothing except the curse they have nothing to give to help that person. Now you have what I call a Mexican standoff. You can't blame somebody for not giving you something that they can't give because they don't have it. And especially when you don't have it, or you can't give it, or you haven't sown and given it to them first in order for you to receive it from them. Did you hear what I just said? I don't have any expectation from my wife to give me anything that I haven't sown into her, and then I can eat off the fruit of the seed that I've sown into her life. Are y'all listening to me today? When we get frustrated, we don't why can't you give me that? Because you never gave me the seed in order to give it, if you're wanting to eat off of me. The other person's actions or lack of action is just the exposing of your root problem. So what I do when I'm listening to people to find out what has hurt them, what is that core thing, what they were abused in, what they were damaged by, and what that hurt is, if you listen to it, they will yell it and say that this person is doing that to them. Y'all hear what I just said? So I just listen to this person. When this person starts yelping to me about this right here, they're doing this to me, they're doing that to me, I know, well, that's the thing right there. That's it. That's the hurt they have in them. You make me feel like fill in the blank, and that's the person's problem. That problem didn't get there just because this person says something to somebody or acted a certain way to somebody. We get mad, and the other person just makes us feel what we have always have had down on the inside and the way we felt about ourselves. So you're going to do something, and you're only going to get your feelings hurt by something that you're already hurt about. Otherwise, it wouldn't bother you. I guarantee you, nobody can make me feel any way that I don't already feel. You can call me stupid all day long. I'm going to tell you something, it won't bother me at all. You know why? Because I don't believe I'm stupid. But if I thought I was stupid because somebody told me I was stupid and I believed them, then you calling me stupid, that's going to make me mad. Otherwise, it don't make you mad. I don't have a stupid button. So you can't press it. Hear me? You can't press my stupid button because I don't have one. The only way somebody can press your button is if you already have that button. Otherwise, there's no button to push except the belly button. So this morning, I asked people, what's your button say? It don't take you long to find out. They got these buttons that warning, 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 back off, back off, back off. The only way somebody can do that, is you have a button. So this morning, what does your button say? Insecure? Because when somebody challenges your insecurity, I'm going to tell you, boom, that button's pressed, you're in trouble. I've seen normal people, good Christians, get that button pushed, and that makes me believe in demons again. Ping, 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 ping. They'll cuss you out. They'll change that quick from I love you till I will murder you where you sit. Yeah, I'm talking about husbands and wives too. Ugly. Don't tell a woman she's ugly if she thinks she's ugly. Don't tell a woman she's fat if she thinks she's fat. Don't tell a man he's dumb when he thinks he's dumb. Don't tell somebody they're unappreciated when they feel unappreciated. Don't affect somebody who has self-pity. Don't push that rejection button, or if they think they're a failure, don't challenge that. I'm going to tell you, resentment, hatred, unforgiveness, isolation, all of that develops toward others. Even though you're guilty of the same thing, you want to get mad at that person. I have told certain people that I have argued with during my marriage over the years, now you're doing the same thing to me you're accusing me of doing to you. We're even, right? Anybody else here married? Now, we're even, right? Okay, all right. How can you not forgive me when you're doing that to me? So you got to forgive me for doing it to you, and I'll forgive you for doing it to me. Now we're even, right? Can we be even? But people want to get mad at people that they feel is doing something to them when they haven't sown into their life. I'm going to give you a deep, deep revelation this morning I want you to receive. You can only reap what you've sown. You can't reap a harvest to eat if you haven't sown it. We got to stop holding others accountable for not giving us a crop from something we never planted. Stop blaming others for our own negligence. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, and this is what people do. I'll just get a new relationship. I know you're going to get a new relationship. I'll go to another church. You'll not be my friend no more. But ending a relationship ain't going to fix your problem. And most people don't know how to fix a problem. And that problem is going to go everywhere you go if you don't receive the chastening and the correction from the angel of the Lord in your life. A lot of people's problems is that the angel of the Lord said, look, I'm going to have to hurt you. You're going to go down this path of sin? I'm going to have to hurt you. I'm telling you, I'm going to hurt you. And a lot of people have problems in their life today because they're going to think they're going to do whatever they want to do. And no, God said, no, I'm going to break your leg if I have to. These are things that are in us that we cannot run from. We cannot hide from. It will infect all of your life. Inside of us is the problem that happened to when our first parents sinned, and then it got complicated when our own parents may have done something to us, or our environment, or somebody in authority, or someone you love, whatever. And then it's complicated again when we sin. And I want to reiterate what is true. If you sin, there's going to be an effect. It ain't just going to get washed away into blood. You murder somebody, they're not going to come alive, and you're not going to get out of prison. God will forgive you if you're really repentant, but guess what? The harm's done. Every time we sin willfully, it causes pain and heartache and harm in people's lives, especially our own. Today's generation have access to so much knowledge. How many of you do this? You have a symptom in your body, you just go straight to the internet. Don't lie to me. Tell me the truth right now. They think they can help fix and cure themselves. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get eye of newt, wing of bat, all these different kind of pills and roots and herbs and medicines and narcotics and all that. But they have no clue of the necessity of the work of the Spirit of Yahweh that's necessary to bring health and healing and life, because He is the breath of life and the giver of all life. But we don't do that anymore. I asked somebody recently, I said, hey, you've been married so many years and all this. I said, well, let me ask you this. How many times have y'all prayed together? A couple. Well, dang, no wonder things ain't working out. You're kidding me. Because people think they know so much, they're going to make it work themselves. You can't make nothing work. Y'all hear me? It ain't going to work. Only God can make it work. But of course, we're smarter than him because we have the internet. I think all of us are influenced by this culture, and it's a get-rich-quick people. And listen, it's been around since the gold rush, and it's always everybody looking to get rich quick. Going to get rich quick. Got to get rich quick. Getting an immediate windfall, such as the lottery. Remember, I said the way that Americans look to have abundance and be prosperous is lottery and lawsuits. Hallelujah. Lottery and lawsuits. If you watch TV, I'm sure this morning when you leave here, you're hoping you're going to get hit by a car so you can call Dan Newland and get all your problems solved. Hallelujah. Dan Newland got me $2 million. Yeah, but you only got like 50,000 of it. That's an exaggeration. It's what Yahweh taught me a long time ago. Son, too rich too quick is suicide. Too rich too quick is suicide. Even if you get $1 billion, whatever that thing is in you and tormenting you now, it's going to still torment you because it's got to be dealt with or you can't enjoy your $1 billion. There are these enemies that God says, I have to take you to that land and deliver you from those things. And it takes time. Think right now, what is robbing you right now of your peace and joy? What worries you the most? What's your biggest fear? That enemy can be only taken care of by the angel of the Lord and the chastening of our Father. Let me tell you something about being successful. True success is only true success when we realize that it takes time. There is no quick success. You may have a lot of money in your business or a lot of people in what you're drawing or a lot of whatever, much of enough, but that happens too fast many times because you don't have the character to understand it, to appreciate it, to be grateful to God. You haven't had the process. The really great men who had money with longevity, they got it over a period of time. And guess what? They still got it. Some of these sports athletes and rappers and movie stars and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to tell you what, their money ain't helped them none. Their wealth and fame hasn't helped them any. I got to tell you, I know and I want you to know, God is developing us. And we're not going to get developed if we don't go through the fire. He's waiting to see, okay, how are you going to act like in this? How are you going to respond to this situation? Do you really believe me? Because if you don't have faith and you're not pleasing me. But are you going to trust me? When you don't pray, people not here today, it grieves me for them because they just don't understand. They don't understand. Some of them just don't want to be here. I get that. We don't attend the ecclesia and develop the fruit of the Spirit. There ain't nothing going to change in our life. As a matter of fact, your life will get worse and worse and worse and worse. And please, I'm begging you, don't make me have to tell you one day, I told you so. So what happens? The ignorant solution that most humans come up with will always, I say, 100% of the time, just be a repeat of the sin committed against us, even though it's in some other form. You're going to treat now people the same way you got treated. You're going to start responding that way. You were rejected, you're going to start rejecting people. You got abandoned, you're going to abandon people. You got abused by alcohol, you're going to start using alcohol. You got abused by whatever it may be. you will reflect and repeat that unless God comes in and put an axe to that root and stop the fruit from coming. That abuse will drive you. It'll be perpetual too. It'll be like cruise control. It's just going to take you right there. The angel of the Lord wants to get you off of that path, and he puts you on the right path, a path of righteousness, because that path ain't nothing but trouble. Your dysfunctional deficit will commandeer your life's choices, plans, decisions, everything, your loves, your goals, your perspective, and will with force, subconsciously, 24/7, be attempting to fill in that deep canyon caused by your sin deficit. So what we're doing all day working, we got to get that deficit. I'm insecure. I was telling my wife the other day, I said, look. See, these preachers who are lying to people about they're going to get rich and all that kind of stuff, and most of them about this tall. I can call them by name. About that tall. Oh, they got that Napoleon complex, you know what I mean? They got to prove something to somebody, and they don't mind ripping people off and telling them a bunch of stuff and making up stuff. And if you can psychologically bait them with money, guess what? They'll believe that all that stupid stuff you're doing. How do you know, Johnny? I've been baited. I said, I've been baited. It's so idiotic, too, that people try to fill their deficit that was caused by sin, and they try to fill it by sinning. It's insanity. It's kind of like this, the father was an alcoholic. That whole thing crushed the family. It cursed the future of all of his children. You never get over it. Your kids will never get over it. They're not going to be protected by the sins that we do and disobey God. Our children will never get over it. We just pray God will redeem and help us somehow to get them off that path of destruction. The wife never recovers. The husband never recovers. They would be tormented from the fallout of their sin for the rest of their lives unless they submit to Yahweh's way out. And there's only one way out. So even though you may despise what your daddy did or your mama did or whatever to you and your family, and would never now, I hate alcohol. I would never touch alcohol, let it touch my lips. But you might easily fall into the same sin, but expressed differently. Remember what I always taught you? You may not be an alcoholic, but you'll become a workaholic. Same sin. Different expression. It may be the same, not be the same color, but it's the same paint. Self-deceit and guilty of the same sin, just like the one they hate, who cursed them and hurt them, and they hate them, and now they're doing the same thing they're doing. So guess what? You can't be mad at him anymore because y'all are even. You're doing it to your kids. He did it to you. I say, let's stop the cursing. Stop it dead. No, we ain't doing that. You ain't sinning in my house. I don't care who you are. I'm not even allowed to do it. We're not going to do it. This is house. We're going to serve God, and we're going to stop this mess now before it gets any worse. Just like people who suffer abandonment from their parents. People get busy, workaholic, they neglect their kids. Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man on the moon. And he said, yeah, my son grew up just like me. He don't have time for me now. Parents are too busy. Unless that angel of the Lord destroys that root, that curse will cycle around, and they will justify handing down the curse to their own children. Probably not just by abandoning, it's like one day parent just don't come home again. But let me tell you how you can abandon your children and curse them for the rest of their lives. When we, through what is now an acceptable, sinful abomination to Yahweh, called divorce, we'll do it and not blink. If you're here this morning and you say, Johnny, I've been divorced, what do I do? Then you start living for God now. Any harm that's happened has already happened. Get in the way of God now. Don't get in His way. Be in the way He sets for you. And God will start redeeming those things. He will start redeeming those things, but you can't stay on the path. Exodus 23 says this, Behold, I send an angel before you to keep and guard you on the way and bring you to the place I prepared. That's where I want to go. I don't care how I have to get there. I know there's only one path, but I'm telling you, I don't care what I have to go through, what I have to fight, what I have to suffer through. I want to go to that place because that's the only thing that will matter ever in your life that you'll ever be conscious of. Listen to it, what it says. Now, give heed to him. When somebody says give heed to somebody, it's a warning to me. Give heed to him. Listen to and obey his voice. Don't be rebellious before him and don't provoke him. I'm scared. For he will not pardon your transgression. Huh? I thought God loved me. Yeah, He does love you. He loves you too much to stay in rebellion. He paid a big price to get you delivered from sin, and He don't want you getting right back into it. True? Listen, He said, don't provoke him, or he ain't going to pardon your transgression. And the Bible says, for my name is in him. But the original Hebrew says this. It says, for my name in him. He's not going to pardon your transgression because my name in him. One of the things that I don't want to sin is because of his name in me. My choice to make decisions about my marriage or whatever, my wife is secondary to God. Okay, is this going to please God? I want to please Him. And secondly, I want to please her too. But I don't want to not be forgiven or pardoned from my transgression. Because this is the truth. If you say I'm sorry and you just continue to do it, you're not. Is that true? If you say, oh, I'm sorry. I always tell you the story, man. It was like when I was in high school, I had two buddies. I had more than two buddies, but I had these two. One came from this world, and this came from this world. We went up in high school together. And one of them, over the summer, he got real big. You know, he got strong, muscular. He raced dirt bikes and stuff, and he just grew up. And me and my other friend, we still didn't grow up yet. So we were playing football, and my little buddy speared him. We were playing in PE, and he speared him. You know what spearing is? He speared the big guy. When it was over, the big guy didn't forget about it. And so we were at the locker room, at the top of the stairs where you go into the locker room, and he walked up to the little guy and hit him right in the mouth and knocked him on the ground. And I'm like, Larry, what are you doing, man? He said, I don't know what came over me. He reaches down to help this friend up and hit him again and knocked him on the ground. Yeah, Larry, stop, wait, what are you doing? So my friend's down there, what's going on? He said, oh my God, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. And my buddy's stupid enough, Larry pulls him up again and hits him the third time on the ground. I said, stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. I got to tell you something. Why do we keep on getting up and sinning? If Larry was not sorry, he hit him. And as long as he kept getting up, Larry was going to hit him. I believe that. He might have just got on him and put a good whipping on him. If we say we're sorry, but I'm not talking about being overcome by sin. I'm not talking about, having a weight and you need people help carry the burden. And I'm not talking about stumbling and falling. I'm talking about willful, planning, sinning. I'm going to do it. Screw you, God, and everybody else. I don't care. Okay, you just made your bed. This dude ain't going to pardon that. Y'all want to know who God is? They have a different God right over here. They don't preach as long over there. They got little sermons or whatever. You go over there, they'll tell you about a God that don't care what you do. He said, but if you will indeed listen to and obey his voice and all that I speak, listen to this, then I'm going to be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversary. That's what I want. I want that. I want that right there, Joey. I want that. I want him to take care of my enemies and him to be an adversary to my adversaries, because I got to tell you, I can't handle it. I get tired trying to juggle everything and keep everything and people and all this, got to run this in my own life, and I like this. When my angel goes before you and brings you the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and I reject them and blot them out, one at a time, blot them out. But you shall not bow down to their gods or serve them or do after their works. But you shall utterly throw them, break their pillars and images. Once you go to that thing that's already been so easily besets you, you got to do what God told the prophet to tell Saul to do. Kill them all. You kill everything. Every dog, cat, baby, rat, mouse, woman, man. You kill it all. You don't want any of that to come back to you. And that's what he's saying. Do utterly destroy that place. Then we can move on from pride. We can move on to fear. Because he's wanting to deliver us from all that stuff. Otherwise, we're not going to be happy. We can't be happy because we're just so allowing the results of sin, which is death on us, is ruining and touching everything. The way that we have access to that angel, and I can tell you can go through the motions, but if you don't believe it, it don't work. I know people that give 10% and more, but they don't tithe. Y'all know the difference? Tithing is a spiritual worship thing. You come before God and you say, I ain't stealing from you. I mean, if you're going to steal from God, you're wasting your time here. And I could easily just say, okay, just give whatever you want, whatever. You know what's interesting to me? I was telling somebody this morning, I was trying to encourage them about the faithfulness of God. I have never missed a mortgage payment on this building, or my house, or a car, or anything else happened to me. I'll tell you why. Because the angel of the Lord. Look around you this morning. I had somebody tell me, said, I don't know how in the world you do it. I said, I don't. But there are people who God uses. Sometimes they're just casual, come through. Yahweh said, and I want them all to stay. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. And Yahweh said, no, there's just scaffolding, Johnny. It's part of the building. People come through. Some of them are there for finance, and some of them are there just to temper me and have me, get on my nerves, you know what I'm saying? Drive me crazy, but it drives me to him. And I'm just so grateful. But you can't just say, okay, here it is. All right, I got the light bill, I got the car payment, I got the tithe, I appreciate that so much. The faithfulness of you guys, man. I will never be able to repay or say and just be how grateful I am. But I want you to worship God with it. You are my God. Look at here, I'm going to give you this because I know you're not going to forsake me. I know you're going to meet all my needs. I understand this morning that it's you who gives me the increase, and that's when that serotonin and melatonin stuff gets dripped out of your head right there. when you're grateful. Gratitude makes your brain give you a little cocktail. And I say, I'll take a double of that sweet peace and joy, rest. You know, there's drugs, I guess they're drugs, or maybe they're not narcotics or whatever, but, and I don't want to yell out the name of things I know about, but I've read about some stuff, you know. And so some of them do is they block they block that serotonin and melatonin. Am I using the right words? I think there's another one there. What? Say it again. That's it. Dopamine. It says, what it does, it blocks. It blocks that door from shutting. It'll stick the foot in the door. Boop. Drip, 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 drip. And they should get that. I have found out that when I have a gratitude for God and His mercy and His love for me, because I got to tell you a story. I told my wife this. She kind of laughed a little bit and she kind of rolled her eyes. But I was, after Sunday's morning, Monday I got up and I went to play golf. I was on my way. And Sunday night I had watched YouTube. And there's this guy on there. His name was Joey DeFrancesco. He had a beard and black hair. It was dyed black. I'm going to dye mine black at my 68th birthday. And so he was playing a Hammond organ. He played a Hammond organ. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, oh my God. I was just so depressed. I sent this to Joel. I sent it to him. I said, I will never play a keyboard ever again in my life. I don't even want to look at one. Because I am not a good keyboard player. I'm not good. Now I know people say, yeah, you're good. God's good. You're good. We're all good. I ain't a good player. I'm not even that great of me. I'm basically pretty mediocre. I ain't gonna say. So then I'm thinking, well, I'm not even a good singer either. And I was just thinking, God, I'm not even a good singer. But in spite of being a bad musician and a bad singer, Yahweh has always provided for me and even used my bad singing and in my bad musicianship and allowed me to use that for His glory. And I was just so humbled and grateful. And all of a sudden, in my talking to Yahweh, I just busted out laughing from down here. And I wanted to say, he said, what's so funny? I was on my way to golf, Ern. And I'm like, dang, I'm not even a good golfer. God, I can't even putt. And I was just laughing my head off and gratitude, I knew what was happening. Drip, 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 drip. I was like, open it up. Open it wide up. Dopamine. That's the one I forget. I believe it's because the success that I have, no matter what level it's at, I'm more successful than I was when I started the journey. It's just taken time. I've fallen down so many times. I've struggled so many times. I've had breakdowns. Nobody even knows stuff that I've had. But I want to tell you what, God's delivered me out of everything. And I know I haven't arrived yet. And I know I still have battles to fight. But I know if I got that angel of the Lord, He will be the enemy of my enemies. And He will be the adversaries of my adversaries. And I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm going to stand behind Him. Now, deal with Him. But it's hard. The hard part is being able to really believe and enjoy the fact that God is doing all those things for you. Can you say amen to that? I mean, it's hard to really, if we could just believe, if we could just really believe and know. Man. Now, I wore you out last week, but I do want to go a little bit further today, if you'll let me. The angel of the Lord brings you to the end of yourself. Some of us, we may have been doing it, and we may have got slack in our provoking Him and all that. We need to repent of that. And when we bring that first fruit offering in this year, I want to be with intent and purpose and faith, and that we're saying, okay, I'm gonna let you. You're going to have to help me. Because, see, some of the things that He's going to deliver us from are the things that are keeping us from being able to trust. You remember? Amorites means haughty and pride. The Hittites, fear and intimidation. Fear and intimidation, we're afraid that God can't meet our needs. Self-governing, no authority, that's the Perizzites. The Canaanites means the compromise. He wants to destroy us having to compromise. And or being at ease or indifferent. Or the Jebusites mean these vice and habits. He said, I'll cut them off. He said he'll cut them off. So what the angel of the Lord is trying to do is bring us to the end of ourself. And these kind of problems cannot be overcome at the gym, or dieting, or getting more money, or a new car, or a boob job, or a facelift, or a new house, or a vacation, whatever. I mean, and those things are wonderful. I'm all for everything. But I got to tell you, that kind of thing will kind of postpone something, but will not get the root of that thing out of us. And I'm going to tell you what I believe. The very top of the list that has to be dealt with is pride. And at the top, that pride, the Bible says, is something that God hates. These 6 things that the Lord hates, yea, 7 are an abomination: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. Listen what else it says. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but it's of the world. Most Christians admit they battle against the lust of the flesh and the eyes. We got that, and we know those. They know what lust is. Some people hate it, some people love it. Some of us flee from it as fast as we can. We recognize pride in other people, you know. Oh, look at them. They have pride. They're stuck up. They think they're better than us. They're self-centered, ambitious, high-minded. But I don't know how many us could really look at ourselves honestly and say that maybe we're proud. I mean, I haven't arrived yet. I'm not as Christ-like as I want to be. There's areas in my life that need improvement. But few of us probably will recognize what pride is, because I'm going to tell you, I didn't. And so I had to find out what pride really was, because Yahweh, as He dealt with me about what is a hateful sin, and it's hateful because it's a sin that Yahweh hates, He said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring you to this land of the Amorite, Johnny, and I'm going to deliver you of this sin that I hate, because I couldn't deliver myself. I tried to be humble, you know, and I didn't want to boast like the Pharisees, and I don't feel like I'm better than anybody else. So how am I pride, Yahweh? How does that make pride that I have? I'm not a bragger. I'm not a boaster. I'm trying to decrease so Yahshua will increase in me. If there's pride in me, show it to me, because I know there's something that's causing a problem with me. So expose it to me. Man, I kind of wish I didn't tell him that. I was so ashamed at how many times I was someone who participated in hateful pride. I was guilty of it. So what is pride? Let's talk about it just quickly this morning. I promise you it'll be quickly. My definition was very narrow. I'm not talking about the wicked, boastful, arrogant pride that we just talked about that everybody knows. The more spiritual you are, and let me just put this, the more we get knowledge, get puffed up with knowledge, the more hideous that crime seems to be. Pride is something that, to understand, I want to give you a definition of that and of humility. Pride is independence. Humility is dependence. Independence and dependence. Pride is an unwillingness to wait for God to act in His own time and in His own way. I'm going to say that again carefully. It's an unwillingness to wait for God to act in His own time, in His own way. Bam! That nailed me right there because I want God to do it now. Pride rushes in to take matters into its own hands. One of the greatest matters and temptations for us as ecclesians is for us to face is wanting to get ahead of God, wanting to be rewarded or have something for time. It's acting without a clear mandate from God. It's taking into our hands when it appears that God is not working fast enough. It is impatience. And it's repelled by the idea of servanthood. Today nobody wants to be a servant. We want to be our masters of our world, king of our homes and all that. In Galatians 4:7, I'm going to close with this. We learned this years ago. Thou art no more a servant, but a son. And if a son, then an heir of God through Christ. And over the years, I think I've come to the realization that what Paul was really saying is that a son who's been tutored correctly. Remember, we were under governors and tutors till the appointed time. The son who has been tutored correctly knows that he is legally the king's son, and he has all the rights, and he has an inheritance, but he loves his father so much, he chooses the role of servant. Yahshua was a servant of Yahshua Christ, Paul said. He was a servant. James said he was a servant. Yahshua made himself of no reputation. He said, let this mind be in you. A servant has no will of his own. His master's word is his will. And the death of our own will is where God speaks to us and we get to know Him. This morning, I want you to know something. God is not only able and willing, all you got to do is start cooperating. And this is what I know. One of the things that we're going to talk about is pride in the sense that, is robbing us from really being able to be patient and have true success that happens over a time period. Do you know that the children of Israel were in the wilderness 40 years? Now, some of us have been here 40 years. So it's really time for us. Hopefully that 40 years took all the slave nature out of us and all the desire to want to go back to Egypt. And as the Bible says, they longed for the leeks and the garlic. They wanted meat instead of heavenly manna. And so what did God say? Okay, I'm going to give it to you. But this is what's going to happen to you. It's going to hurt you. So this morning, as we come into this sacred time of the year, it's not the civil year, it's the sacred year. It's 7 months long. It begins at Passover. Easter, don't bring eggs, we're not going to have it. If you want to bring some candy, I think nobody will care about candy. Oh, we like candy every day, don't we? But it's April the 22nd, and then we'll have 50 days. I think it's July the 13th or something like that at the Feast of Pentecost. And I want you to really pray. Get things right with God. Don't be a moocher in the house of God. And honor and worship God with it. Worship Him with it. Remember, He's the one that is doing all this for us, even though we think we're running around doing it. Yahweh, I love you. I love these people so much. I thank you for the opportunity to be able to express myself in the gift that you gave me. And there's some people still left that are willing to listen to me. I know that I have the words of life because they're the words that you've given to me from your word. We choose to do your will and your purpose. And whenever we get in a position, Yahweh, then we don't know what to do. We're not quite certain. All we got to do is do what you said. And we know we'll head the right direction. Make a choice. Make a choice. It's the most powerful thing that God has ever given anybody. We can make a choice today to correct and receive the chastening of our loving Father, and I'll give you praise for it. And I do already, because you promised you're going to complete that work in us that you've started. Will you receive that for yourself this morning?